Good morning, everybody. Yesterday I posted a short clip of the documentary filmmakers Laura Riccardi and Moira Demas chatting in a TV studio on the 5th of January 2016, so literally a couple of weeks after Making a Murderer had been released. And of course, the interesting part is where Moira points out that she was contacted by one of the jurors to say that the verdict given by the jury was a fudge, it was a compromise, that votes were traded. The deal was struck whereby if everybody voted in favour of Steve being found guilty of murder, then everybody would vote not guilty of mutilating a corpse. The theory being, of course, that later on down the line at the appellate stage, then it raises serious doubts, leads to a mistrial, a retrial, and also obviously that the one or two voters who definitely did not want to vote for Steve being guilty, they realised that they would be easily identified by the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department as being the ones that had voted against convicting Steve. And I don't think we can ever overemphasize how concerned people are, citizens in Wisconsin and Manitowoc and Calumet, etc., over the behaviour of the sheriff's departments. I think when you consider all that has happened to Steve and Avery, it's understandable that people do not want the same happening to themselves. Obviously, this was something that some people have never heard of before, or at least not seen the footage of Moira and Laura talking about this fact, and there's a newspaper article as well. I'll see what I can include in the description below, and what I can't put in the description I'll put in the comments, one or two links to various things so that you could check these out later on. So the question is, does Kathleen Zellner know about the concerns of, well, let's say quite a lot of the jurors? Obviously she does. Don't worry, there's really not a lot in this case that Kathleen Zellner doesn't know and is aware of. As I say, when you watch the Ryan Ferguson case, you realise that this isn't the first time that Kathleen Zellner has come up against the type of corruption that we see going on in Wisconsin. It was just as bad in Ryan Ferguson's case. But as for speaking out about this situation, I'm pretty sure that that she has asked people to sit on it for now. She will use it to her advantage when she needs it. Now is not the time to that kind of speculation. At the moment we're dealing in the facts of this case, the evidence being disproved. Later on down the line there will be opportunities for jurors to express what really happened. Had an interesting comment, well, not that interesting, but somebody put a comment, goes by the name of Stephen Avery guilty, Brendan Dassey innocent. That kind of contradiction, I must admit, is kind of odd. If you believe that Brendan Dassey is innocent, then well, why was he convicted? Purely to try and get at Stephen. Everybody can see that. It's so obvious. And it's so obvious why they framed Steve. Because they'd done it before and nearly got away with it, which is what the problem was, particularly the fact that having been alerted to the fact that they'd got the wrong person. We hear Tom Kasurek in 2003 saying that nobody meant anybody any harm by this. Well, that certainly wasn't the case when Andy Colburn took the phone call, and the phone call, the information was just sat upon for 8 years. So no, I don't I don't accept that that the obvious is that Stephen Avery is guilty. The obvious is that Stephen Avery was framed. The obvious is that Brendan Dassey was coerced to try and help secure his conviction. And of course, ultimately, the jurors, to begin with, voted in favour of Steve. But it was only because there were one or two there who were very much in support of the Sheriff's Department and had direct links with the Sheriff's Department that this fudge, this compromise, this vote trading took place and eventually resulted in Steve being found guilty. It's funny, isn't it, that Ken Kratz talks about the fact that he convicted Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey not just beyond reasonable doubt but beyond all doubt. Nothing could be further from the truth. It was purely down to this vote trading. One of the things that I've always said, and I'll keep reiterating this because, again, this is going back to early 2016. I had a lot of phone call conversations with Robert Hermann. This was before Kathleen Zellner submitted her motion for testing of evidence, these conversations. I made it quite clear to Robert Hermann on more than one occasion that once Kathleen Zellner is given the evidence to test, if it should come back, you know, we hear Kathleen Zellner warning everybody she takes on, if you're guilty, I'm going to find out. And I stressed that to Robert Hermann. You know, you have nothing to fear from Kathleen Zellner testing the evidence because she will find out the truth. She does not ever again want to represent anybody that is guilty. She's made that absolutely clear. And I said, if it comes back that it looks like Stephen Avery is guilty, she will drop him like a lead balloon, as she has done other people. And I said, by the way, I will be one of the first on the phone to apologise to you and your department for ever doubting you. But I am still waiting on a reply from Robert Hermann as to what should happen to Manitowoc Sheriff's Department once Kathleen Zellner has proven the planting of the key, the planting of the bullet, the planting of everything else in this case. It's not difficult to see that the blood in the RAV4 was planted. The commenter suggests, you know, have you considered the possibility that he got in multiple times? Well, in that case, then there should be multiple sets of fingerprints of Stephen Avery, and if he was bleeding every time, there should be a lot more blood. But if you were trying to frame somebody using a few drops of blood extracted from the sink, then the places where they found this blood are exactly the places that you would try and frame somebody. Although if they had the blood, they could have done a much better job. They should have maybe saved some for the gear stick and the steering wheel. None found there. Although smears on the CD case. You know, maybe they didn't do as good a job of framing him as they were trying to do. Maybe they didn't know exactly where to drop the blood and the blood flakes. No, as I say, if you look at the crime scene inside the RAV4, it is not a crime scene at all. That is a manufactured scene to make it to place Stephen Avery inside Teresa's car. it's painfully obvious. Anyway, hopefully I'll get some news of 1 or 2 more people that are going to join me for various live chats. In the meantime, this particular tie is on its way across the Atlantic very soon. We'll catch you again soon. Bye for now, and as I say, I'll leave some of the links either in the description or in the comments. Catch you soon.